Well, hello again. It looks kind of grim here. We're on the ground at Barton, which is in Manchester, in the north of England. And this thing, this creature, well, it kind of looks like a skyhawk, doesn't it? And yet it is something else. And what this is a tail dragger conversion of a skyhawk for bush flying, as you can see from the big tires here. And as to what it is, an X-plane here, it's done by the folks at Propstrike Studios, and they're the ones who make a few bush flying sceneries. And what they decided to do, the two of them, I think it's two of them, one of them appears to be Scandinavian, the other, I'm not sure where he's from, but they are apparently scenery making mavens, I guess you could say. And they have made both payware and freeware bush sceneries. And I don't know why they got the idea, but what they decided to do was, hey, let's make an airplane or two to go with it. So they created a kind of modification of the standard Laminar 172, which I have to say officially qualifies as the dullest plane on Earth. And that's really saying something, because even the real world Cessna 172 has a certain kind of, I suppose, interest to it. But Laminar, although it makes a very faithful version, somehow or other manages to suck all the soul out of it. And that's really not Laminar's fault. It's just that it's an airplane that once you translate it into the virtual world just gets dull. It's not especially fast, doesn't have any especially funky handling quirks. It has no distinguishing features. It's designed to be benign. It's actually a great airplane to learn on. It's very, very good because actually the way Laminar have done it, or has done it, depending on whether you're in Britain or in the United States, is they've built something that more or less looks like something you'd probably train on. And that's a good thing. And you can get it with the regular six-pack, as you see here, or the Garmin G1000. So there ain't nothing wrong with it. It's just that, God, it's just dull to fly. On the other hand, this thing here, what they've done is they've basically built something that looks like a Cessna 172 back in the early days when it came out in the 60s. And what you've got here is an old-fashioned paint job. You've got the tail dragger conversion. I thought you had a cargo pod here, but I guess you don't. I guess that's only on the tricycle version. And you got weathering, you've got ugliness on the windshield, you've got a slightly worn out looking glare shield here, and you've got standard old school radios here, you know, a King radio stack, the kind you'd have in 1972. And the only thing that's relatively modern is this S-Tech-like Autopilot, which is actually very, very faithful to the real thing, right down to the fact that it's quirky and people look at it, and in the model they fly it and they go, oh my God, why is it so weird to fly? And the answer is that it really is weird to fly. And it has a bunch of quirks. And actually, Philippe Ringler has of Laminar has got a very good video up on YouTube explaining the oddities of this Autopilot, and the oddities are actually very, very true to life. So kudos to them. But what this thing is just an unadulterated joy, and you can use it, or maybe you have to use it, I'm not sure which, with the SimCoder's Reality Expansion Pack, so it flies very well. So let's just see if, all right, that's the weight and balance. You notice here it says front seats and only front seats, and the reason why it says front seats and only front seats is, as you can see, it ain't got no rear seats. It's basically got a big old cargo area here, and there's a little picnic cooler with the little organ transplant that is going to somebody in the backwoods there. And there's a little cement and a little other stuff. And I wonder if we put something in the baggage pod here, whether it will say there's actually stuff in the baggage pod, and I don't know. But let's put 50 pounds in there. Let's see if we can. All right, so there it is. Apply, and there, and let's just see if it gives us a baggage pod. Oh, look. Look at that. You tell it you want some stuff in the baggage pod, and all of a sudden it creates a place to put your shit. All right, that is awesome. It probably should be there all the time, but, you know, who's going to quibble? So there we go. Now we have a baggage pod. We've got big, fat-ass tires. We've got a Propstrike Studio logo. We've got an amazing sort of Schwinn copper tone, and ask your grandparents about that livery. We're here on the ground on a grass strip, and I might have to turn off this weather because in truth, I don't know exactly where I am here in Britain. I know that I'm not far from Manchester, and we'll fly around and of course take that into account. And if you notice, the traffic's on the opposite side of the road from the United States, which is amazing. This is Orbix's GB. And, oh, how do you like that? That's Manchester. All right, so we'll fly around here. That is an indoor ski slope, I think, because Mancunians, and that's what you call people from Manchester, Mancunians, Manx, I suppose. I don't know if that's insulting, but apparently they like their summertime skiing. Anyway, we're going to try this out because there are some quirks that have to do with bush flying and tail draggers that you might want to know about, and actually might inform, how very semiotic, might enhance your everyday fake flying here. Because a lot of bush flying has to do with getting in and out of short strips, and a lot of that has to do with flying the airplane on the edge of stalling in very slow flight, and actually on the backside of the power curve, so that truly your power affects your rate of descent. You know how they say power for rate and pitch for speed? Well, in this case, as you'll see, it really does apply. And one little gizmo is going to help us here. You see this here? It's not lit up, but this is an angle of attack indicator. And this will really help guide us in the slowest possible flight without falling out of the sky. I guess let's get started up, and we'll just futz around. By the way, just a disclaimer first, I don't pretend to be an expert on tailwheel flying or bush flying, or certainly real flying, but this is, I guess, a fake flying tutorial, and I'll try to keep it as close to the real thing as I can, with the understanding that my only time in tail draggers is flying as a passenger on a DC-3 about 25 years ago on Provincetown Boston Airlines, actually on a DC-3 that was built in 1936. At the time, it was the oldest commercial aircraft operating in the United States, possibly the world. And the other tail dragger flying is with my buddy Les, who briefly owned a decathlon, which is a it certainly can fly aerobatics. It's a doped fabric and bicycle tubing aircraft, a two-seater high wing tail dragger that I believe his wife Carol implored him to give up because I don't think she wanted to fly cross country with him in it. Although I have no doubt at all that he, if given half a chance, would fly from New York to San Francisco but he got rid of that toot sweet. My job consisted of flying in the back seat and providing a favorable CG so that he could have flattering landings. So anyway, we'll get our master switch on. Actually, our avionics should be off here. I've been trying to switch the tank selector here on, and I can't, which may mean I won't be able to start it. I've been able to start it using the automatic function, and I think there's just a problem with the model at this point. But what we'll do is we'll switch the fuel pump on, and what we're looking for is fuel flow, and I don't know, truth be told, if we're going to get it. We're going to be looking here, and we're going to see if that moves. It should move, but, well, actually it shouldn't move because there's no tank selected, and as expected, it doesn't move. So now let's see if we can start the aircraft. If not, we'll use the automatic start thing, and it will somehow magically do it anyway. So we'll just crack this here and crank this over here and turn on that, and the beacon is already on. And let's just see if we can get it started. Well, you know what? The key is not turning either, so now watch. If we do all this shit, it's gonna do it itself. But I've clearly got some problems here, because it's gonna start all this stuff up. Should start all this stuff up. Yes, it is. And yet, well, that's all well and good. It's just not very satisfying. But we'll get it going, and we'll get our avionics on, and let's just see if everything works here. See if our gauges work. See if I have fuel flow. Yeah, see, now I have fuel flow. Temps are low. I've got full fuel quantity, which is what I want. I do have power. I do have suction. I do have oil pressure, and oil temperature is slowly rising. And everything works. It does. Let's see if our electric trim works. Yes, it does. Okay. Everything works, but for some weird reason, our tank selector doesn't select. And our magneto switch doesn't switch, which is, who the hell knows? Let me just see if our breakers break. Well, they may not work, actually. I don't think they're modeled, but let's just see if everything else works. That does not, that does not. Okay, I'm at a little bit of a loss, but, you know, it wouldn't be the first time. That works. Let's see if our heading bug works. It does. Goody, goody. Okay, and let's see, we're at what? We're at 161, give or take. Let's see if that works. it does. Let's get that set. Alright, that is set. So, I mean, the things kind of work. Kind of, sort of. That works. And that works. Alright, well, we'll stop futzing around with this, but it is odd that the stuff doesn't work here. Let's see if our light... Yes, that works. Alright, so there's just a modicum, a smattering of shit that doesn't work here. Everything else seems to. Let's see, that does. All right. I've had enough fun at your expense. Let's taxi out to any convenient runway here and just see how we get on as the great and mighty Rich at Flight Sim 481 says. This airplane is nimble, taxis nicely. I have no idea really where we're going. As I said, I am blissfully unaware of the surrounding area here. And at some point we may have to just turn off this weather. Let's just see if anybody's coming to kill us. No, they're not. Okay, good. And let's just a quick look. There we go. Okay. There is a runway up ahead. Do a quick control check here. Remembering that we should probably taxi with the stick pretty far back so that we don't accidentally go, let's see, what's the English word? Arse over tea kettle? Something like that. All right, I see runway numbering, so that's got to be a good thing. There we go. The visibility is actually pretty good for a tail dragger. And let's see, I think we have 2 runways here. 2 for the price of 1. Yes, we do. Now, I don't really have to know which runway it is. The wind is pretty negligible, although the sky looks pretty evil. What we'll do is we'll depart here and we will, well, first we'll set the parking brake. We will just, I guess, maneuver over Manchester, scare the natives, and just get a little practice here in tailwheel bush flying here, which pretty much means no wheel landings. For the most part, we'll do 3-point landings in almost a full stall, if possible, and just practice flying on sort of the slow side of aviation, to tell you the truth. So off comes the parking brake. Fuel pump in the Cessna, I believe, stays off. Mixture is full, lights are on, transponder is on, flaps are set, trim is set, we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold full aft stick here to keep the weight in the back, because a tail dragger will basically spin around like a shopping cart if given half a chance. And then what I'll do is I'll relax the back pressure, and that will let the tail come up. And at that point, I won't worry too much. The tendency is to worry about pitching over nose forward. Your chances are not going to, not in a real plane, and not even in this fake one. because at that point you're almost at the point where you're going to lift off into the air. So it's not like most of the force is still pressing you to the ground and waiting to rotate over onto your nose. Instead, most of the force is being developed in the form of lift by these wings. So at that point, when the tail comes up, mostly you're almost ready to fly. So unless you're really clumsy, and watch, I will be, with your yoke or joystick, you're not going to go nose down. So don't be too scared of that. In a bigger airplane, tail dragger airplane like the DC-3 especially, the tendency is to be scared of that more so, and the training in those planes, especially on landing, is to get a novice pilot to keep that tail up and nose forward for as long as possible until the tail loses lift and the airplane sinks down backwards on its own. It's kind of counterintuitive. In a plane like this, it all happens so fast, you're up in the air by the time the tail comes up almost, as you'll see. So what we'll do is we will put the yoke in our laps right here, okay? And we will release the brakes. We will not jam the power forward all at once. We'll just introduce it smoothly. You notice that it rocks back on its haunches there. Okay. We're at full power here. We're maintaining center line, and now we'll just relax our back pressure, and the tail will come up, and before you know it, we'll be flying. And there we are. Now you can see this angle of attack indicator is active, and you can see it is in the green. And if we want, right now, and demonstrate how it works as we look at this amazing scenery. So I'm just going to pull the nose up here, smoothly and slowly, and I'm going to actually roll off the power just so we can get into very slow flight. You can see that it creeps up into the yellow, and then into the red. Now, you can see by our rate of our vertical speed indicator here that we're climbing slightly. Let me just roll off the power a bit and let the nose come down a tiny drop. And we'll be in level flight. So here we are. Now we're in level flight, and we're in very slow, up here. Let's get in level flight here. Roll off some more power. A little smoother on my controls here. We trim, okay, there we are. So now we're in level flight. Very slow flight, as you can see by the angle of attack indicator. So retrim until, there we go. Got zero pressure on the controls right now. Now, I'm going to go up and down right now just by using power. So roll off the power. Hold the pitch, and you can see where this descent. There we go. You can see that angle of attack indicator is right on the hairy edge. And down we go. Let's get into a 500 foot per minute descent. If you can. A little bit yippee on the controls there. There we go. And now we're just sinking 500 feet per minute. There we go. Almost on the edge of the stall. We're a little bit fast for that. Let's just pull up a little bit. There we go. Now let's ride that down. And that's basically how we're going to be landing for a short field. We're descending in a stabilized fashion, but we're on the edge of stall. We can get out of this pretty easily. Just rolling the power smoothly and climb. Do not be afraid of that stall horn. Respect it, but don't be terrified of it. Okay, so we'll roll some power in and we'll bring our nose down a little bit, let our speed come up, and avoid these skyscrapers. So we'll loop around them. This is amazing scenery. This is from Orbix. And let's see what kind of frame rate we're getting. The airplane handles magnificently, by the way. Whether it's because of the Syncoder's pack or the work of the Propstrike people or whatever, but it really flies very nicely. And I mean, we're pretty loaded up at this point. We just trim out for a little climb, so I can go hands off here. And yeah, we're getting about 33 frames a second in the middle of the city and some very crowded scenery here. And let's come on around back to the airport and try a little short field landing here. This could be problematic. Let's see. Looking for a beacon. The windshield is dirty. Seeing no beacon. Thank you so much. Don't even know if Great Britain, if UK beacons are the same as American beacons. And don't even know which river that is. You know, this is what happens when you run your mouth and, that's an airport right there. What happens when you run your mouth instead of flying an airplane? Is that an airport? Gosh, I hope so. I think that's an airport. Now, what's nice about this airplane is you can land it almost anywhere, so it is fully possible to set down on the roof of any of these buildings, on a riverbank, on a sandbar. That's what they do. So let's get ourselves slowed down first of all, because we're at this point just a little bit fast. Now, what we're not going to do is get really low and drag it in. What we'll do is we'll fly a stabilized approach, a steep stabilized approach, but one where we are not in danger of falling short the entire time. That's not the point of it. The point is to visualize your landing site. I'm not sure if this balloon is accurate. It really balloons a lot, flaps. And be able to see it scope it out. Ordinarily in bush flying, what you do is you first fly along the runway or the strip and see if the obstacles, if there are any, dead trees or moose in your way. We're not going to do that. All right, so there we go. So we're on the edge of the stall horn here. You can see right now we're in a 500 foot per minute descent. We're going to be using power in little spurts to modulate our rate of descent. And we've got a little bit of a crosswind, which is going to be fun. Which means we're going to introduce a little slip here. This first time may not be the greatest, but let's just see. And I don't want it to be angry. I want the happy stall horn sound, not the angry one. Okay, there we go. And we slip it in just a little bit there. There we are. And down we are. That was not the most beautiful landing. Okay, flaps up. But it's something to build on. And away we go. And we'll try from the other direction. Okay, let's pay attention to our landmarks this time. There is a highway. There are our power lines. There's a line of farms. And there is a line of fallow field. I believe that's a town in England. Fallow field. No, I don't know. And there's a quarry. And now we're hitting some turbulence, which is great. This is Active Sky XP, by the way. And it is quite nice. Still working out the kind of rudder component here and aileron component here. I'm just experimenting as I say that. Alright, there we are in a little bit of a cross-controlled situation. I'm going to take out the rudder and I don't know, to tell you the truth, if that behaves exactly like a regular 172. I'm sure it doesn't because of the weight distribution in the plane. But, God, look at this. It just looks great. I mean, this really looks like you're flying over a picture of the English countryside, and it's just as overcast and just as grim as it sometimes is in late March there. Just roll off the power a little bit. And again, I can't seem to switch tanks, which is odd. But be that as it may. Shall we try again? And out we come. The airplane handles really nicely, really sweet. It is docile but responsive. It's not unbelievably lethargic because it's missing a bunch of seats, and I haven't loaded it up too much, so it's not too much of a pig. Just letting it slow a little bit here. Bit too much rudder in. Okay, there's the road, there's the city, where's the aerodrome? do that again. What do you mean it's going to do that? I'm going to lose the airport again. That's what's going to happen. Okay, looking for the power lines. I do see power lines, just the wrong set of power lines. And it's the wrong picture anyway. The city should be right about... Alright, so what's going to happen is we're going to take advantage of this airplane short field capabilities here. Ah, there we go. Okay. Those English, they're very, very crafty about hiding things behind hedgerows and other stuff like that. All right. So we'll stay fairly high, and then we'll come down pretty steep, but pretty stabilized, we hope, and pretty much on the edge of doom. No. All right. Now this is more like a conventional approach here, nose down. But I'm going to bleed off speed here, I hope. You know what? I might just have to do a little circuit, as they say. Well, here, let's do this. Let's see if we can slip again. So we'll lose a lot of speed here. Big old slip, and we'll try it that way. Not sure if this thing should be carrying speed quite like this, but let's try it anyway. Oh, look at that. You know what? I do want to see that again, because that was kind of nice. It's kind of a demonstration of the versatility of this airplane. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. It's just that it did exactly what I wanted it to do. To the extent that I knew what I wanted to do. So, if that makes any sense at all, let's just take a look at this and just see how it did. That was really, it's a very short field, and it was a late decision to land that way, and it was, in a way, set up to demand a little bit much of the airplane, and it was asking the airplane to be tolerant of my just sort of slapdash flying here. So if you look here, you can see, well, you can see right about there as we turn in, we're obviously we're high. And we're fast, and you can see we'll throw it into a big ass slip here, and it didn't. The speed didn't die away instantly. I don't know, not having flown the real thing, whether it did it realistically, but it did it in a way that it wasn't like a light switch. And so there we go. So we're in this big old slip, and you can see right there, and you see us sink right there, and down we come as if we've just picked a spot along the river, and we're going to drop in right there, and look at that. Boom, down we come, and we lose the slip, not very prettily, and as pretty as, oh, look at that. as pretty as a picture. That's as nice a three-point landing as I've ever done. I really have to see that again. So now, you can see, okay, let's start right about here. And we realized, all right, we're going to go for that particular runway. And we're kind of screwed. So, see right there. What we'll do is, you see how we're cross-controlled there? We've got left rudder, right aileron, and down we go. And we go down a big way. We lose the slip, and we don't really erase the slip very gracefully, but there you have it. And now we bleed off the speed and stall right there. And you can't really beat that with a stick. Here, let's just give that another go. So, you know, it's a nice slip. Now I should take it out much more smoothly than that. You see how I overshoot? You should just, instead of putting in opposite rudder and aileron, you should just relax the pressure you've got. But there it is, and eesh, look at that. Magnifique. So that's more or less how to do it. I would encourage you to go get this. Oh, I forgot to mention, the edit is free, as in it doesn't cost any damn money. So you literally have nothing to lose as we watch my lumpy little slip and straightening out. Just go get it. Play around with this thing. This is just about 26 and a half shades of awesome. And I really have to say, it's, you know, this is, yeah, look at that. Look at that dumbass little lurch there. But watch, the rest of it is just beauty. I can see why people like to fly tail draggers and why they take some satisfaction in it. That's just fun. God damn, look at that. All right, leave you with that. Go get this plane. Go buy their scenery and enjoy. Just love it to death, I hope, as I and quite a few other people do. And see you next time. Bye-bye.